All right, welcome back, guys, to Gamble Smart. My name is Mark, and you survived the weekend. Hopefully you had a great weekend. Monday morning, holidays are coming very soon. Hopefully you guys get some time off to go spend with family and friends, just kind of have a relaxed time of year. This is my favorite time of the year. I love it, absolutely love it. But anyway, let's get to the topic for today. So today is not a tip or a fact, but we're actually going to do viewer questions. So I printed off some questions here, and we're going to read them. If you want to take part in this, all you need to do is leave a comment down in the comment section below, and we'll do it in a future episode and give you a shout out at the same time. All right, so let me start with the first one from Proud Monkey. Now, he gave a very long question. I love you, Proud Monkey, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. We're going to summarize basically what he's trying to say. And he's basically saying, and he wants some clarification on how comps work when it comes to what you're actually using, okay? So let's say that you get a $100 food and beverage credit, and you go to the casino and you use $30 of that, okay? Is that going to change what you're going to get on the next comp? For example, do they know that you left $70 on the table there, and they will just make your next comp offer equal or better? The answer is absolutely no. If you end up getting a $100 comp, you want to make sure you try to use as much of that as you possibly can, unless it's one of those that rolls over, okay? So if it's a food and beverage credit for $100 bucks and it's only valid the weekend that you're staying there, you want to make sure that you use the whole thing, because otherwise you're just throwing it away. Just because you use $10 of that does not mean they're going to give it to you later on in a future comp, if that makes sense, okay? So whatever they give you, make sure you're using as close to the limit as possible on that. You want to maximize your comps. Don't want to leave anything left on the table. Sometimes it's hard because there's only so much you can stuff yourself, right? All right, but good question there. I mean, it's definitely a good question. But just remember, if it's not something that's accruing over time, like with MGM tier credits and points and things like that, and it's just a food and beverage credit for your stay, you got to use it or lose it. That's basically it. All right, next one is from Carol Thompson. She says, how does wins from an RNG, or a random number generator, match up with the tape on a single line reel or 5-line reel of a slot machine? So very good question, Cheryl. Carol, I'm sorry. So here's how it works. Basically, you have a strip, and I had one right here. Oh, there we go. So you have a reel strip like this, okay? There are 22 positions on this reel strip, okay? So there's a symbol, a blank, a symbol, a blank, etc. So in the olden days, when there was before any kind of computers or anything like that, the random number, or what would generate randomness, would just pick a symbol from random on this strip. But things have changed as of the late 80s, when the random number generator chip came out, and IGT was the first to start using that. They created what is called a virtual strip, or a virtual reel table, okay? And what that is think of a reel strip, but much bigger. And the more complex the game is, the more higher in volatility the game is, the longer the strip is, okay? So try to imagine a very simple game like Double Diamond. Even though these strips are fixed to 22 positions total, the virtual reel on a Double Diamond could be 50 or 60 symbols long, okay? So you'll have a lot of repeating bars, a lot of repeating cherries and blanks and things like that. But that's how they expand what the RNG can pick from, okay? And the way that the payback percentage impacts all of that is that if the payback percentage is reduced, well, then they take some of the bigger symbols like the triple bar and reduce it down to a double bar, or they take a cherry and swap it out with a blank. Those would make the payback percentages worse. The other side, if they want to make it better, well, then they'll add a 7 instead of a triple bar, etc. Okay, so that's how it's actually working, is that for each reel strip, the RNG is picking a number, and it looks it up on the virtual reel table, and then that corresponds to the actual physical strip, and it instructs the machine on where to actually stop when it finishes spinning. So I hope that helped a little bit. It's a pretty in-depth answer, but I try to give you at least a general start today, and maybe we'll do a dedicated video on it later. All right, so thank you, Carol. Really appreciate it. And Robin Ratty says, tell us, if any, is there a benefit of playing 5 lines instead of 9 lines on a quarter machine? This is a very good question, and it really depends on what the type of machine is, okay? The general rule of thumb is you should always try to maximize your potential on the game, because the game's potential and payback return and everything is based on the maximum bet wagered or the maximum lines covered, okay? So if you're playing a 9-line game and you only play 5 lines, you could be impacting your overall return on that game. It doesn't mean that you'll notice it in any individual session, but over a long period of time, you could get penalized for not wagering the full maximum coverage of the game itself, okay? Now this gets a little bit more complicated with games that have bonus rounds, like the new pinball, for example, is a 9-line game. You can play less lines if you want to, but you're impacted because you don't get as many balls up in the top as you do playing the full 9 lines. So again, you might be reducing your eligibility of how much return you can expect on that game if you're not maximizing the coverage. Now I'm not talking about multiplying your bet or anything. I'm talking about covering all the lines that are potential on that game. For example, this top dollar deluxe that I have behind you, yes, you can play 5 pay lines you want. It's a 15-line game though. And so if you really want to maximize your overall return percentage on this game, you really have to bet max. And so in situations like that, let's say that you run into a 9-line game and it's $9 a spin. You're like, I can't do that. I can only afford $3 a spin. We'll try to find a quarter machine of that 9-line game, because then 9 quarters is what, $2.25? So that's a little bit cheaper, a little bit better for you to play, but you're getting the maximize your coverage there, if that makes sense. All right, well, thanks so much. Those are the viewer questions of the day. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week. And remember, gamble smart, gamble safe. We'll see you tomorrow. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.